President-elect Trump has assembled the most pro-Israel cabinet in the history of the United States. So kind of belies the notion of putting America first. It's very much a pro-Israel cabinet, as Lowkey pointed out in this video. So Pete Hegseth, he is currently a Fox News commentator. He was tapped to be Secretary of Defense. Quote, this is from his book, "If you love America, you should love Israel." Very much a pro-Zionist, completely supporting Israel's genocidal campaign against the Palestinians. And Hegseth would be the Secretary of Defense if confirmed. Again, very much a pro-Zionist and a huge supporter of the settler colonial state that calls itself Israel. Marco Rubio, he's being tapped to be the Secretary of State under second Trump administration. Quote, well, Hamas is, quote, 100% to blame. So Hamas is 100% to blame for Israel destroying schools, bombing hospitals, targeting journalists, not letting humanitarian aid get in, striking ambulances with airstrikes when they go to rescue people, women being forced to have C-sections with no anesthesia. Hamas is, quote, 100% to blame. That's Marco Rubio, another Trump appointee. Elise Stefanik, Trump's nominee to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, replacing, I believe their name is Linda Thomas Greenfield, who has vetoed several UN resolutions calling for a ceasefire. So Elise Stefanik, she is a congresswoman from the state of New York. She wants to cut aid to UNRWA, which is the United Nations aid agency responsible for providing aid to Palestinians. Particularly important given the dire conditions faced by those in Gaza currently, when I believe it's like 60 to 70% of all structures in Gaza have been destroyed or damaged since October 7th of 2023. And then you have Mike Waltz, who I believe will be the NSA director. Keep going, Israel. Keep going, Israel. Okay. So Trump's cabinet is full of genocidal maniacs that are completely in support of Israel's genocidal and ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza, and further Israeli settlement, expansion, and annexation in the other occupied territories like the West Bank. And then Trump's campaign itself was very much heavily funded and bankrolled by Zionist funders and supporters. Obviously, we have Marian Adelson, who was Sheldon Adelson's wife. Both in 2016, Sheldon and Miriam donated around $100 million to the Trump campaign then. with the strings attached to that money. What was it? They wanted, they wanted the U.S. to recognize the Golan Heights, which is a part of Syria. They wanted it recognized as part of Israel, which Trump did in 2016. And they also wanted the U.S. Embassy to be based in Jerusalem, which also happened under Trump in 2016. So from the Adelson's perspective, that $100 million was well spent because Trump was willing to do anything they wanted for that cash. And Miriam this time around donated another $100 million, and whatever she wants, she'll probably get, because that is a massive amount of money that the Adelsons once again poured into the Trump campaign. Let's see, Isaac Perlmutter, he was the former head of Marvel, and Marvel has been shown higher ups there to have a very close relationship with the Israel intelligence community. He used to be an IDF soldier. He fought in the so-called Six-Day War in 1967. Isaac Perlmutter, their foundation, their and their wife's foundation, I believe, maybe it's just his, donated $12 million to the Trump campaign. Richard Uihlein donated, $10 million, I believe is the number, to Trump's campaign, this time through the Uihlein Family Foundation, which also supports Accuracy in Media, which is a group that goes around and doxes pro-Palestinian protesters. We have Andreessen Horowitz. They own Israel intelligence companies, and they were another big donor to Trump's re-election campaign. Got my notes here thanks to Lowkey's video. Shout out Lowkey. And Andreessen Horowitz, they invest in Toka, Israel's cyber defense startup. We also have Elon Musk, who donated $120 million to Trump's re-election campaign. And Musk and his companies have supplied satellites for Israel to collect, information, surveillance, intelligence, etc., to use that in the targeting of Palestinians through the ImageSat International is the name of the company. Let's see, you have Primerica Funds, which supports the ADL, which the ADL obviously claims to be fighting anti-Semitism, which if that were true, that would be great. Anti-Semitism is horrible, but groups like the ADL conflate legitimate criticisms of the state of Israel and what they're doing with anti-Semitism, which, again, that's just conflating when those two things have nothing to do with each other. Another campaign donor to Trump was Phoenix Holdings, which funds Elbit Systems. Elbit Systems is Israel's largest weapons manufacturer, and Elbit Systems has been the target of a lot of Palestine actions in the United Kingdom. Shout out Palestine Action, really doing the Lord's work. And I believe it was Lowkey also in his video on this. If any other nation had been influencing U.S. elections in this way, it would be seen as foreign interference, right? I don't know why I struggled to make that connection, but it would be seen as foreign interference. But with Israel, it's become so normalized because both parties are more or less bought and paid for by the Israeli lobby. And again, any accurate and rational critique of what Israel has been doing since 1948 is conflated with anti-Semitism, which is really, really sick and pernicious, because anti-Semitism is a horrible thing, but it shouldn't be used as a cudgel to silence people for calling out the genocidal and ethnic cleansing actions that Israel has continued to perpetrate against the Palestinians, right? Let's see, got one more. Dropping my papers. I'm dropping them. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, Musk visited Israel back in September. He said that Teslas could, be freely charged in Israel as a way to give back. So again, Trump has the most pro-Israel cabinet in the history of the United States. Again, Biden's cabinet was also very much pro-Israel. But you see, just compare the UN reps under Biden, Linda Thomas Greenfield, pretty horrible, right? She was at the UN vetoing all of those resolutions, calling for ceasefires and things of that nature. But you didn't hear her necessarily publicly advocating like Trump's nominee, Elise Stefanik, for defunding humanitarian aid to the UNRWA, to the Palestinian Relief Organization, through the UN. So that's just kind of one compare and contrast. And, it's pretty clear where his funding comes from. Trump is completely beholden and ready to do anything and everything for those, pro-Zionist funders that he has. So pretty interesting. Shout out Lowkey. Peace, much love, free Palestine.